Live. I'm your host, Joe Beck, founder of the Sales Activist and host of the Impact Sales podcasts. Impact Sales Live was created to shine a spotlight on the best practices and tips that will help you stand out from a crowd in regards to sales. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a coach, a consultant, or a sales professional selling for a company, you're going to get a lot of value out of Impact Sales Live. I'll be hosting Impact Sales Live every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern, so block off your calendar and make sure that you start off the week the right way right here. We will not be here next week on July 4th, but we will be back the following Monday, July 11th, and for every Monday for the foreseeable future. So make sure you tune in to Impact Sales Live. Now, Impact Sales Live today is sponsored by our premier sponsor, Podcast EZ. Podcast EZ is your go-to source for all things podcasting. You just speak, and their team will take care of the rest. We used Podcast Easy to help us create and launch the Impact Sales Podcast, and we are completely thrilled with the results. Not only did they make it easy for us working with their team, they took us step by step through the process. They got us onto 38 different podcasting channels and distribution lines, which was amazing to me. You definitely want to check out Podcast Easy if you're at all interested in starting your own podcast or maybe bringing your podcast over from what you're currently doing. If you're out there doing it yourself, you might want to get the help from the people at Podcast Easy. Now, I am going to drop their link in the chat. You could take a look at that, and I will make sure that that is available. So let's kick things off with just a quick explanation about Impact Sales Live. See, you never know what's going to happen here on Impact Sales Live or who will be on. We're going to have guests coming up here in future weeks talking about sales stories, success stories, things that they're doing to really have a positive impact on their sales results. Most importantly, we're going to make sure that you all get valuable insights and actionable information that you can take and put into action for your own businesses, so you don't want to miss it. Today was a day that I was really looking forward to, because this category, this topic for today, is one that holds back a lot of people. And it's the topic of fear. We're going to spend today's Impact Sales Live talking about fear as it relates to your sales success and how to have the right mindset for being a professional salesperson, whether you're selling for yourself in your own business or for a company, how to overcome the fear that you may be facing as it relates to selling. And fear is one of those categories that makes a lot of people uncomfortable, right? In fact, I know there's some people here that probably saw the posting for this live and thought, fear, I just don't want to go there, right? Well, the fact is, whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you deal with it or not, we all carry certain inherent fears with us. Sometimes they're things that we understand and can rationally work ourselves through. Sometimes they're things that are subconscious and we don't even recognize the way that they impact us. And I'm hoping that today's live is going to free up some of that information for all of you. It's going to release some of that fear. It's going to give you some of the insights that you may need to better handle the fear that you may carry, and more importantly, how to channel it more productively into things that are going to help you be successful. And when I talk about fear, I really kind of dig down into one thing that I like to start with on the subject of fear. And it's that everybody, whether they recognize it or not, no matter what it is that they do or offer or put out into the world, whether they knew it or not, they were in the fear removal business. You know, I tell people all the time, if I'm coaching them or if I'm working with them in their business or doing something like that, I don't teach people and coach people on sales. I teach people how to overcome the fear, how to get out of their own way. I'm in the fear removal business. And the reason why I like to start there with people is I want everybody to understand that a lot of the things that you do professionally, whether it's sales or anything else in general, carry with them some inherent fears, things that we all have to deal with. Sometimes they're very personal reasons. Sometimes they are related to the business or the industry that we're in. And we're going to talk about a lot of those things today. This is going to be a fast-paced hour of great information about how to deal with fear. And I recommend, despite all the distractions that you may have, your phone going off, your email, your text, messages from all the social media platforms, if you can stick with me, if you can just stick with me for this next hour, I promise you it's going to have a positive impact on yourself and your efforts in professional selling. Try to avoid the distractions, put them off to the side. So as far as the fear removal business goes, I like to start with fear, talking about the fact that everybody has them. It doesn't matter what the reasons are, but there's fear that each person carries. For some people, that fear comes from some very basic human elements. It might be speaking in public, it might be fear of rejection, right? It might be what a lot of people deal with, which is, how they handle the so-called imposter syndrome. Like, am I just really acting like I know what I'm doing, or do I really have my hands around this stuff? And the thing that I think you all need to understand and take from this time today is that um, fear itself doesn't need to be rational or irrational to impact you. It could be completely rational, make all the sense in the world, and it'll impact you. It could be completely irrational, make zero sense, and just you don't understand why it happens and still impact you. So, the number one thing that you have to do is come up with a coping mechanism to be able to navigate your way through the fear. And we're going to share a couple of those today. And we're going to really drill down on one. And I'm not going to give it away quite yet. I will in a couple of minutes. But we're going to talk a lot about the importance of coping mechanisms to overcome fear in sales. For some people, it starts right at the beginning, like step one, like putting myself out there as a professional in whatever the line of work may be has a really unique impact on people, right? Sometimes people just putting themselves out there and being real, transparent, and in front of other people concerns them and scares them. It's natural. Okay. A lot of people know this, but I'm going to share it anyway. The fear of public speaking is one of the top fears that people have. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing it online, whether you're on a Zoom call, or whether you're standing in front of people, in front of a group trying to present. There's a fear in putting yourself out there. And that's the first step. But it starts even earlier than that sometimes, even before you get to that point, in how you communicate and relate to other people. I know people that struggle in sales because they don't literally put themselves out there. They don't reach out to enough people. They don't communicate. They don't try to connect. They don't try to get to know people to even figure out if they can sell or provide value somehow. So it can start right from the beginning in all the early stages of sales. Before we even get to the actual sale, it could be in your prospecting stages. It could be in how you carry yourself, not being willing to put yourself out there in case somebody calls you, right? I know it seems counterproductive and counterintuitive, especially when you're trying to sell a product, a service, or an offering, but it is real that there are many people that struggle with selling because they're not comfortable putting themselves out there. And they just somehow think that organically or naturally the sales are going to happen. Like, no amount of lead generation, prospect development is going to overcome that fear if you carry it going into the process. So I'm going to start with, and I'm going to share what I believe is the absolute best and easiest mindset for an individual to have if they really want to overcome fear. And this is something that you can use whether your feel is real or even a little irrational. It can be something that you utilize in any form of communication. It's a mindset hack. It's a way that you can take what you're dealing with and come up with a way of coping through it so you don't hold yourself back, so you aren't afraid of engaging people. We all carry fears. And I said that before. We all carry different reasons why things concern us or worry us or trouble us, right? And no amount of stress or anxiety about those fears is ever, and I mean ever, going to make you more productive. You have to get to the root cause and figure out how to either deal with it or navigate around it so it doesn't hold you back, so it doesn't paralyze you from moving forward. A lot of the things that people tell themselves as it relates to fear, and I'm going to share with that mindset hack is in just a moment. A lot of the things that people tell themselves as it relates to fear are, I don't want to be involved in talking to people if they aren't interested in what I'm selling, or if they don't need what I'm selling, or if they aren't open-minded to what I might offer them. Like, they start rationalizing and making determinations about what that person may think of them, how they may feel about them and their offer. They start that process of rationalization before they either pick up a phone or send an email or send a text. Like, they've already started convincing themselves as to why that person wouldn't want to hear from them or wouldn't want to work with them. And this mindset hack is going to help you get past that first initial, what I call gate that holds you back. For many people, when you look at why they don't succeed in selling, there are certain practical reasons why, what things that I call like the science, activity, metrics, things like that. And then there's the art. And we've talked about this before, but how you do things, your personality, your communication skills, these are all realities as well. So you have science and you have art. Well, people fail in the science side of things many times because of fear, not because they don't know what to do, not because they don't know what their activity needs to be. People understand that they need to make calls, see people, generate prospects, create opportunities, make proposals. Everybody understands that. That's pretty straightforward. What they don't understand is why they resist the opportunity to do it at the right level. And many times, not all the time, but many times, it falls into one of two categories. Either it's a misallocation of their time and they spend time doing low value activities, or it's a combination of that along with the fear. And I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. Many years ago, I sat in a cubicle all the way back early on in my sales days. I sat in a cubicle side by side with a guy. And this guy was the epitome of call rejection and fear. Like he just would not pick up the phone. He would not send any. He was so restricted from putting himself out there. It really, really bothered him. You could ask him what he was doing, and he was always getting ready. He was always getting ready to do this or do that. And you may know people like this. Maybe it's you. Maybe you're that person. I don't know. But always getting ready to do what's necessary, right? Getting ready to make that call or send that email or make that proposal. The getting ready syndrome, right? And really what it was a resistance to do what was necessary because of the fear. See, he was afraid of being rejected. He didn't handle rejection well. It bothered him. He had some deep-seated, long-standing issues with rejection, whatever they were. And this is normal. Many people carry that. Sometimes that's a base element of what holds them back. Other times it's a learned element from resistance that they may have felt in some type of negative environment, whether it was a prospect or a coworker, or somewhere along the way, they just believed that they weren't worthy and couldn't do enough to make it worth that person to want to work with them. And this is, again, it may not be rational, it may not be you, and it's just a reality that what people carry. Sometimes people will never even know what the reason is. They can't figure it out. Now, I'm not a psychologist, but I tell you, from a sales standpoint, if you have deep-seated doubts or fears about communicating with people and putting yourself out there and offering to do things by way of a service, a product, or an offering, you're going to struggle. And you either need to deal with that or figure out how to navigate it through some coping mechanisms and take the thinking out of it. And here's that mindset hack. And this is something that you can use no matter how you're looking at this. Stop thinking about the fear of why they don't want to work with you and focus on one thing and one thing only. And this is a simplification intentionally. Focus on one thing and one thing only, and that's how you can help and impact their life in a positive way. Now, I know some people are going, oh, come on, Joe, impact their life in a positive way. It could be anything. The bottom line is this: if you don't come up with a way to simply rationalize yourself through the process, you're going to always struggle if fear is one of your issues. And this comes all the way from the beginning to later on in the process. You have to make a true commitment to what I believe is the best mindset for you to have in professional selling. And it doesn't matter whether you're selling for yourself as an entrepreneur, whether you're a coach, a consultant, or you sell for a business. You have to take a servant mentality to the people that you're working with and for. You have to think about how I can help these people. And the reason why that is the absolute best mindset to have and the ideal mindset hack to use is because it makes all of the potential rejection or pushback that you may feel a lot easier to take. Because so many times, and I know this probably isn't anybody that would be on this live, but so many times people have the wrong intentions about why they may want to work with somebody. There's a selfish perspective. There's I've got to take care of my own needs, my own family, my own financial responsibilities. And that's all real for everybody. But the split second that that voice is louder than the servant mentality voice that you have in your head, it all becomes harder. Because I'll tell you, if at all that first voice is louder, it becomes a lot easier to hear the fear and have it push you back, because you're now being challenged. You're hearing pushback from your prospect, and that fear is now just ringing in your ears because it creates all the doubt that you could have. A servant mentality approach is an entirely different perspective. Your single focus is to just help people get more of what they're trying to accomplish for themselves or their business. And that's going to be done in the shape and form of the products, services, or offerings that you provide. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't provide significant value and have a positive impact on those folks, the bottom line is this: you probably shouldn't be working with them. So if you tell yourself going into that situation, and this is the exact mindset hack you need to have, that if I can't help these people, well, then we're going to part as friends and we're going to move on to the next person to talk to. That is a lot easier psychologically for you to take and absorb than the idea that there's going to be this clash, this resistance between you and your prospect or your client, because you still believe that I'm selling something that they don't want or need, or I have to sell this because I need to do this. Take the eyes out of it, drop the eyes out of it, and it should all be about them. It's what they get, what they receive, what value they have, and most importantly, and this is where the impact comes from, what impact it will have on their business and their life. Focus in on that, drill down on that. Don't get yourself caught up in all the things that can go wrong. Think about all the people that you can help. Now, I know people have fear for different reasons and they struggle with it for different reasons. But if you have a mentality, a servant mentality, that you're going to go out there and add value and have a positive impact on the people that you work with, everything else is irrelevant. Everything else becomes a detail that will be figured out at some point. If you start with that mentality and you maintain that mentality, it's easier to take the lumps that come in sales. It's easier to take a little bit of pushback, a little bit of rejection. Oh, I guess that person's not quite ready to get the help that they may need or the service that I may offer. It isn't a resistance. It's a timing thing. It becomes more psychological in your head for you to say, they're not quite ready for this. That's okay. Or it's not the right fit. That's okay. Maybe somebody else can do more for them now. All of these are things, rationalizations that are much easier to take and make for yourself if you have a servant mentality. Now, fear comes in all kinds of different shapes, forms, true stress, anxiety, your palms start sweating, your mouth gets dry, you struggle to find the words that you want to have. We've all been there. We've all had those things happen for a variety of different reasons, right? I know it happens for a variety of different reasons. The easiest way for you to get yourself back on track is to focus in on what you do and look at how you might be able to help somebody. And I say that sincerely because I will tell you that when you take that approach, not only is it easier to position all the things that you may offer, being a true servant out there trying to help add value and impact people in a positive way. Not only is it easier to position everything that you do, but it's easier to take those lumps. It's easier to deal with the potential rejection you may feel, the pushback that you may get from people, the sense that, people aren't into what it is that you may offer. Because the fact is, when you don't carry the fear, the anxiety, you're less likely to pass that on to your prospect. And this is another part of why this little mindset hack is so critical to your success, because no matter how good you are at what you do, you could be a functional expert at what you offer. If you carry that fear, that stress, and that anxiety about interacting with a prospect or asking for the business, or even just prospecting, wherever it happens in any part of that process, if you truly do carry that, it is practically impossible to maintain that mindset Truly know that in the back of your mind, in the back of your brain, knowing, oh my gosh, I've got all this stress or this or that. It's truly impossible to filter that out and not have it somehow manifest itself in front of your prospects. Impossible. We're not wired as human beings to naturally be able to flip a switch and not have those things show. And honestly, you don't want to be like that. You don't want to be a robot. You don't want to be that person that can turn it all off and turn something else on. That's not the way you want to be. If you're really going to have a positive impact on this world, you've got to be real and genuine and transparent about the person you are. But the reason why it's so important to have this little bit of a mindset hack is because it filters out a lot of the negativity and the uncertainty and the doubt that you carry. If your true intentions are to add significant value and impact people in a positive way through the products, services, and offerings that you provide, if your true intention is to do that and you can maintain that, you are much more likely to filter out any of the negativity that you hear. You just are. If you don't have that mentality, and you have it in the back of your mind, and you continue to try to navigate through it and push your way through the challenges that you may hear, right? If you continue to do that, you will find that inevitably it becomes extremely difficult for you to filter it all away. People will read that. People will really get from you those feelings of stress and anxiety. Sometimes they manifest themselves in the ums or the yips, right? It's like and whether you know it or not, you don't have to be perfect in what you say. You could be real and you could trip over a word. That's okay. That's very normal. But for some people, an extreme amount of ums or uhs is indecisiveness, which can be misinterpreted as, deceptiveness. Some people read signals that way. When you hesitate too long without expressing that you're processing or thinking something, some people read into that as either you don't know what you're talking about or you're being deceptive, right? Now, I'm not saying that either of those things are truly the case or a reality in those instances. What I'm saying is, if you can't quickly navigate and filter those things out of how you handle things and buffer them, people will read into those signals that way. You carry little to none of that. And even if you do, if there's an awkward pause or a shift, hey, Olga, how are you? Hi, Jane, nice to see you. If those things happen in an environment where you are truly focused on the best intentions for your client, your prospect, and you're truly trying to be a servant to their needs, they are natural. They don't bother people the same way. And the reason is it will shine through in the way you communicate, your sincerity, how genuine you are, right? And you can include that right at the beginning. One of the things that I've trained people on many times over the years is, as early as possible in your sales process, explain to people that, I'd just like to get to know you and your business a little bit more. And if by some chance we have the opportunity to work together, that would be great. And if we don't, that's okay too. I just want to see if there's an opportunity for us to work together. And basically make sure that the prospect understands that their best intentions and their best results are going to come from you in a way that's very real and genuine. If you put yourself in a position where you don't do that, if you don't express that to them, if people just believe that you're only interested in selling something and not adding value and a real positive impact, you will find yourself dealing with a lot of pushback, dealing with a lot of anxiety, because just like fear can hold you back doing what you're doing, fear over the unknown and fear over something not being as good as it may seem holds back a lot of people from making decisions. So if you can't filter your fear and anxiety, it will spill over into the prospect. And where do you think that that's going to go in the sales process? Nowhere. It's going to stop everything. So the mindset hack you want to maintain is your focus, your extreme and only focus is providing significant value and a positive impact on your clients. The rest is window dressing, the products, the services, the offerings, what it costs, terms, conditions, all of it is window dressing. It doesn't matter. Because I will tell you, if you screw up the mindset stuff, if you screw up having the right servant mentality to working with people and wanting to add value, if you go into that wrong, the rest will be wrong. Not because you can't control those things, you can, but because somewhere along the way, one of these things will hold you back. The resistance from the prospect, your own fear and uncertainty, that imposter syndrome that we mentioned earlier that sometimes holds people back because they don't believe they can add that positive impact. For you to really position yourself in a way that's going to ultimately allow you to be successful at the highest level, you need to make sure that your mindset is right in everything that you do. You need to make sure that you go into it with that servant mentality. Now, fear takes a lot of shapes and forms, like we talked about. One of the things that I remember saying, and I can't remember exactly who made the quote, but it's so true. Um, you need to face the things that you're afraid of to make the death of fear certain. If there are certain aspects to your business that make you uncomfortable, truly uncomfortable, whether it's call reluctance from picking up the phone and calling people or sending out messaging because it worries you, it concerns you. Like if there's true significant anxiety, the easiest way for you to overcome it is you've got to deal with it head on and you need to work on it. Now, that looks different for every person. If you're struggling with that in a sales environment, I would love the opportunity to talk with you about it and help in any way that I can. I will tell you that sometimes it's a simple fix, sometimes it's a little bit more complicated, but in every instance, it needs to be part of a cohesive process in how you overcome it. Just solving one issue won't make anything better if you don't make it consistent across the way you do business. So if you're struggling with it in a sales environment, I would love to help you with it. You can reach out to me one-on-one, reach out to me on my digital business card. I would be happy to talk with you about it. You'd schedule a free call with me. The number is 321-421-5213. Text the word sales to that number, 321-421-5213. It's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Just jump on my schedule. We'll have a quick conversation about fear. Just, when you get the message and you want to record it, just tell me it's about fear and we'll talk about it. But you got to deal with it, because I will tell you, whether it holds you up early in the process or trips you up later in the process, if you don't deal with it and truly navigate through it in a way, through a coping mechanism that allows you to rationalize doing the things the right way, it will hold you back. It will restrict your ability to be as successful as you'd like to be. It will hold you back from being everything that you're capable of being with whatever it is that you're offering. And I have seen this in thousands of people. I've had the great fortune professionally to have worked with thousands and thousands of sales professionals for large companies, Fortune 100 companies, Inc. 500 companies, companies that were smaller and regional, that I worked with large teams, and even through people that I taught in individual classes. I've seen it manifest itself a lot of different ways. It doesn't matter where fear pops up. You need to be ready to figure out how to deal with it or navigate around it so it doesn't hold you back. Now, let's talk about that mindset and why it's so critical to your success, why it's so critical to helping you overcome the fear, but also position yourself the right way. See, we're not just talking about just solving the fear issue, checking that box and moving on, because it is all part of a cohesive process. You could be right, have the right mindset, and still struggle because somewhere in the back of your mind, and it may not even be conscious, a little lever is ready to be flipped, and something happens in the sales process that flips it, and everything falls apart. And if this is happening to you, or if it has happened to you, you know what I'm talking about, where things are going really, really well and business is great. And then all of a sudden things slow down and fear and uncertainty starts creeping into your mind. And all of a sudden you change how you used to do things because you think, well, maybe I need to make this change and only do this. And then things get worse, right? Or maybe you have something special and amazing to bring to the world, and for whatever reason, something is holding you back. And that's a different type of fear. We're going to talk about that in a minute as well. something's holding you back and you don't quite know why. Well, I'm going to tell you that this mindset hack that I shared with you a couple minutes ago is powerful across the board. Here's why. Because if your fear is truly because you don't believe in yourself and or you believe that you're not worthy to be doing the things that you're doing or offering or putting out into the world, by putting that mindset hack in place, by truly looking at it through a servant's mind and going out there to help people that way, it becomes easy to recognize I'm just trying to help people. The more people I can help, the more successful I could be. You've all heard this phrase. It's very true. If you want to get and accomplish what you want to accomplish in this world, just help as many people as you can accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. But for some reason, when it comes to us personally, that holds us back. We just don't believe that methodology because we still carry our own personal issues. To overcome that, you have to truly be able to tell yourself and believe that you are truly trying to add value, have a positive impact, and do good for those you work with. But it's not the only fear that we carry. Fear of letting people down. I know this one. I've carried this one. For those of you that know me, you know this is one of my Achilles heels. Like I will sometimes take on too much because I don't want to let people down. Sometimes to my own detriment. I get reminded of that by my wife Abby all the time. It's true though. I will take on too much because I don't want to let people down. And sometimes the best thing that you can do when it's not right, or if it's not the right time, or if it's not the right fit, is to say no. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes fear is a legitimate manifestation that you shouldn't be doing something, that you should jump and do something else. And that is an honest reminder to do it. So sometimes you have to be willing to say no. But when it's not that, when it is a legitimate fear, why is that mindset of being a servant so powerful? Well, here's why. When people do push back, and we all know that that will happen, people will push back. They will say no. They will resist your offer. They will pass on it. They will sometimes beat you up about it. When that happens, all that fear, uncertainty, and doubt creeps into your mind. The easiest way to overcome that is by having that servant mentality and then telling yourself, truly telling yourself, you know what? They aren't ready to do this. I can't help them yet. They aren't quite ready. If you have that mindset, the time's not right, and they aren't quite ready to be helped that way, you will deal with the rejection a lot easier, and you will stay on point, stay on target about doing what you need to do. See, the problem with rejection is that it paralyzes people. Oh my gosh, this person said no. Or, oh my gosh, I've sent out 50 messages, nobody's respond. Rejection paralyzes people. It makes them stop. When instead, you should put your head down and keep going forward. Well, what keeps you going forward? When you're on a mission, when you truly are on a mission, and not the type of mission that is monetary, not the type of mission that is goal oriented, the type of mission that truly provides significant value and a positive impact to a lot of people. And that can be done in a business environment. That could be done through your products, your services, and your offerings. But it's how you look at it that makes the difference. See, you face resistance and pushback and rejection, and you don't have that mindset, it becomes really easy to believe that you're not right to be doing what you're doing. Happens to a lot of people. I've worked with hundreds of people that have had that situation. Hundreds. The fact is, you have to change how you look at it. If that person's not right or ready for what you offer, you can't help them yet. Now is not the time. They're not ready. That's okay. It is not a testament and a testimony as to your abilities. It's they're not ready yet. But you have to have the right mindset. Now, it will allow you to take that rejection and plow ahead, not be paralyzed by the fear that you might feel. You may take a quick step and go, oh, well, that didn't work. Who else can I help? Who's next? I use this, and I've used this. I don't even know where I got this the first time I got it. It's been so many years, at least 20 years since I've heard this. the concept of SW4. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. There are 4 SWs. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. And that's powerful to keep in mind, because when you're trying to help people, when you're trying to truly provide significant value and impact on the lives and the businesses of the people that you work with, it's easy to go, some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting, and clear it out of your head. Filter it all off, buffer it away. It doesn't impact you. Someone's waiting. Who else can you help? Now, I know some people might feel, oh, that's way too simple. It's simple in concept. It's not an application. And that's why you need to understand the depths of how you need to address that issue, how you need to approach and interact with people. Thank you, Kathy. How you need to address dealing with that fear. See, it leads to the next fear that inhibits people. And this is one that people don't talk about as often, but it's very, very true. If you really drill down as to, the psychology of performance in any line of work, sales is just one of them. If you really drill down on the psychology of performance, there are just as many people that are afraid of success that are afraid of rejection. And I'll tell you why. Because success means that things will change. And I know for some people, like, that's okay. I'd love to make more money. I'd like my business to grow. I'm okay with change. Are you really? And the question is, are you really? Because that change, that fear means things may look different. Some people are willing to embrace it and are fine with it. But for other people, they aren't as comfortable with it. Things are going to look different. If I'm more successful, what will that look like? How will people perceive me? How will my family look at me? How will my friends look at me? Will they look at me the same, or will something be different? Will the dynamics of our relationships change? It's absolutely valid to say that just as many people are afraid of success that are afraid of rejection. And it's so much easier for a human being to accept moderate success and just not overcome that fear of great success, right? It's an accommodation. It's you become complacent or accepting that, oh, I'm okay being a little successful and getting by and doing this. But I'm going to tell you the difference between getting by and being good versus being great or being masterful at anything that you do is battled in mindset. It's how you overcome all the fears and all the different ways, because they hit you at different times, at different levels. The person you are professionally, now is a lot different than the one you may have been a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. And it'll be entirely different than the one you may be 5 years from now. So you need to recognize that fear could come at you through rejection or through success. One of the things that I would love getting from clients when they would call me, and I had one of this, I call like this, at tail end of last year, it was a significant call. One of the people that I was working with reached out and said, I just got a confirmation on this $500,000 deal. And I'm like, I'm shaking. Like, I don't know what to do. And it was a combination of fear and this idea that, oh my gosh, like now we need to deliver on this. We need to do this. And it was true fear and excitement, but it was fear. And I said to her when we spoke, it was like, look, this is no different than the $100,000 client or the $200,000 client or the ones that you've gotten before. It's slightly bigger, but let's break it down. Let's look at it the same way. It was a different fear. It came out at a different time. Now, this is a high performing sales professional, somebody who is a thought leader in her space and had significantly improved her performance, through some work with us. And, this was a new level of fear. So my point is, embrace the idea that a simple hack, such as my sole focus, my sole effort, my sole goal should be to do good and help as many people as I can. Focus on that and don't get caught up in the details behind that. You may have heard this phrase. I use this one a lot, but it's very true. If people don't buy the concepts, the details are irrelevant. Is very true. If they don't buy the concept, the details are irrelevant. It doesn't matter how great you are at A through Z. If they don't get the general concept of who you are, what you're about, and what it would be like to work with you, you're never getting there. Don't worry about that. So for today, in addressing fear, this mindset hack is an alignment, really a realignment. If you're not there yet, a realignment in how you approach your effort. Stop looking at your business like, here are my goals related to my personal metrics, and start maybe aligning with what your clients need or want. How many clients you've helped do this or that? How many clients that you've worked with that have achieved X, Y, Z, whatever it is that you're offering them. Drill down on that. Now, I'm not saying obviously that you don't measure your own goals, your own metrics and all of that, but don't get yourself caught up in that because that's the path to lead towards fear and anxiety when things don't go right. For many people, especially those that have the right intentions, that are really focused on trying to add as much value to the world as they can, the real, transparent, genuine, sincere people that I know all of you are, and for those of you that struggle with that from time to time, to putting yourself out there that you want to be, it becomes so much easier to think that way with a servant mentality and addressing the needs of others and putting yourself on the backseat of that to accomplish your goals. Because I will tell you, it will motivate you even more. The stories, the way that people share with you the impact that you've had. Our podcast, the Impact Sales Podcast, we interview top sales producers across the board, and it's amazing, the number of interviews that I've done already. But there's certain things they all say, and one of the top things that they all say is they're all positioning themselves as a trusted advisor, right? That's the powerful level. That's where you want to be, a trusted resource for your clients. Well, if you live in fear, if you struggle with fear and anxiety of putting yourself out there and helping your client, your prospect, if you struggle with that, if you don't win that battle there in the trenches, you will never help them reach their goal. And the more of them that you help reach their goals, the more that you will reach your own. But for whatever reason, people get obsessive about their own metrics, their own numbers, their own situations. And it's true. Life takes over. It's real, right? If you're not paying attention, it'll hit you square in the face very, very hard. But the way you get past it, the way you get through it, is to double down and focus on helping more people. It's a really simple equation as it relates to fear. Put yourself out there in a position where you're going to serve others in a way that feels good to you. And it's different with each person. And if you don't know what that looks like for you, reach out to me. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about your business. We'll talk about what holds you up. I'll be happy to do it. But you need to genuinely buy into the idea that that mindset hack can change everything for you. Because whether you know it or not, if you don't have something like that in your back pocket to use, you're going to find that you will struggle with fear. Whether it's fear of rejection early on or fear of rejection in the middle of your success happens too. Maybe it's taking that next step up. Maybe it's taking on that next opportunity, that next role, that next client, that next significant growth step in the development of your business. If you don't deal with fear, it will restrict you. If you do it in a way that's focused on the success of others and you put the others first, you have nothing to be afraid of. If I'm working with you and it's not the right fit and I'm not your guy, or vice versa, I'm going to say, I'm not your guy. I'm not the one that does that. I'm not the one that can help you with that. The best person that could help you with this problem would be this person. I can make an introduction. I could connect you with them. That's genuine servant mentality to wanting to add value and help somebody. Too many people try to fit a square peg into a round hole. They have a product or a service or an offering that may help the prospect, but it isn't what they need most. It isn't what it's going to change things for them. And they get hung up in, not doing the right thing because they want to be successful. And I get that. And what I'm saying is focus on the needs of the other person. The fear will go away. When people resist what you offer, it's easier to say, well, now's not the right time. They're not ready for my help, and to go about your business in a way that doesn't hold you back. It's very easy to help you overcome the imposter mentality if people resist you and you say to yourself, they're not ready for my help, or it's not the right fit for my help. But you knew deep down you had a genuine interest in wanting to be a servant to them and help them in their business. If you have that mentality, the rejection doesn't get at you the same way. It kind of bounces off. It's almost like an invisible shield you didn't even know you had or carried with you. But you have to go into it sincerely and genuinely with that type of an approach. And more importantly, when it gets to that point that you're really trying to make big steps forward, really dynamic growth in your business, you're trying to take that next step, explosive success, and maybe, for lack of a better putting it, changing the landscape for what your life looks like. Well, I'm going to tell you that little hack for dealing with fear is extremely powerful there. Why do you think there are so many average producers out there and not as many elite producers in any industry? Somewhere along the way, right? Those elite professionals, entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, sales professionals, doesn't matter. Insert whatever you are in that category. Somewhere out there, the elite have chosen to do two things differently, right? Here's what they are. First, they're willing to do all the things that the average people aren't willing to do. They're willing to dig into their business. They're willing to do all the things that other people aren't willing to do. Now, I don't mean negative things. I mean positive things. They're willing to work differently. They're willing to gear things up in a different way. They're just wired to do things that other people won't do. And in fact, they'll make a habit of doing it to achieve success. And that's a great thing to have if that's you. But the truly elite, they're fearless. Not that they don't feel fear, not that they don't have fear and anxiety and stress in their life. They do. They're human, just like you, just like me. They have all those same issues. Of course, they deal with fear, but they're fearless in their business. Now, why are they fearless? Now, I take a positive view of these things. I don't want to think that they're fearless because they just don't care. I want to look at it in a way that they're fearless because they believe in doing right and helping as many people as they can. That's at the forefront of what they're about. And I'm not saying there's not successful people that aren't well-intentioned. There are. But the majority of people out there want to do things the right way, want to have a positive impact, and want to give more than they take from people. And I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but I'm trying to say that the elite in anything, there is a well-intentioned nature of wanting to truly be a servant and do as much as they can to impact as many people. For some people, especially those that have achieved a certain level of success, it goes beyond monetary issues. It goes beyond business accolades. It goes beyond all of that. It comes down to simply helping more people. It's truly what it means. And that's where you can overcome the fear. See, for the average person, they struggle with overcoming fear that comes at them from different reasons, different ways, different angles, right? We all carry those struggles. We all have issues like that. I think it's very, very common and very realistic to understand that when you're dealing with fear, you need to not hope to never have it, because it's hard to get to that point of being fearless. It's more realistic to accept that you're going to have it. You're going to have fear. You're going to have stress and anxiety. I carry it. You carry it. Everybody carries it. So your path to success, your way forward, is to figure out a way to quickly flip the script on that fear. And the easiest, most impactful way of doing it, day in and day out, situation aside, doesn't matter whether it's true, inherent, natural fears you have, or learned fears, or the types of fears that are irrational, or they're truly fears based in your success. The best way of dealing with that is to have a servant mentality. Now, it's not the only way. You can go a lot of different ways with dealing with fear, but I'm going to tell you the easiest one for the average person to deal with is to embrace a way that they can look at it as a true servant mission to add value to as many people as possible. And when that doesn't get them there, when it doesn't work, or when there's bumps along the way, figure out what needs to be fixed. Figure out where that breakdown might be and reach out to somebody that might be able to help. And I'm going to tell you, for anybody that's listening to this or anybody that catches the recording, if you're not sure what that looks like and you want to figure out what that may look like for you, if you have a fear issue, it's common. I have fear issues. Most people have them. But if you really want to figure out what that looks like and fix it, reach out to me. Schedule a time on my calendar. I just posted it in the chat. You can text my digital business card. Just text the word sales to 321-421-5213 and schedule a time. I'm happy to talk to you about it, but do something to address it. Not for your own benefit, but for the fact that whatever it is that you are able to offer the world, your product, your service, your offering, whatever you are able to put out into the world, if you can't solve the fear problem, so many people aren't going to benefit from what you offer. It is all about the lives that you could impact in a positive way. If your dream, your mission, your true mission in life is to put something out there that impacts people in a positive way, and that is real, and that's a core element of why you do what you do in your business, then you need to do everything within your power to help that impact as many people as you can. Because if you don't, think of all the people that would have benefited from your help. And I get this a lot from people that I talk to. They have amazing offerings, amazing things that are just great, that can change so many lives. But their problem is they can't get past that fear. They got to get past it to put it in front of people. They have to crack that code, because if they don't, all those lives that could have been impacted by it won't ever feel the effects. It's kind of like having the cure for a disease at your disposal, sitting in your pocket, knowing that you could put it out there to help as many people change their lives, and then not doing it. You all, no matter what you're offering, your product, your service, whether you're a coach, a consultant, whether you're an entrepreneur, doing your own thing, building your own business, or working for another company, you know that what you do can impact a lot of people. Don't restrict yourself from having the type of impact that you should have on the people in the world around you. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to them. You owe it to the world to do everything within your power to overcome fear. Now, fear is one of those things. It's kind of like it's kind of like the old arcade game you'd see at the carnivals, the fairs, or the amusement parks, the whack-a-mole game, right? Where the mole pops up and you pop it on the head, it goes down, and then another one pops up. That's the way fear is. And it hits you a lot of different ways. Pops up out of nowhere. You think you have it mastered, pops right up. You knock it back down. Second later, another one comes up. You knock it back down. What I'm saying, you have to keep swinging. You have to keep figuring out ways to navigate through the fear and put yourself on a path towards not having it hold you back. Now, we spent a lot of time talking about that hack, but I think it's so important for your success to be able to truly have some actionable things that you can do to help you be successful and overcome fear. Because I don't know who needs to hear this, but there are life-changing offerings that people on this live have available that are putting out into the world. And you owe it to all the people that you can impact to figure this fear out, because the more of those people that receive what you can offer, the more you get to have the life that you really want to have, the more you get to have the accomplishments, the income, the balanced life that you were looking for by helping people and have that true servant mentality in the process. But if fear is holding you back, if fear is restricting your ability to have that impact, you owe it to yourself to figure out how to solve that problem. And there's a lot of amazing resources to figure out how to navigate it, how to come through it. And it doesn't matter whether it's early in the process or later in the process. In a sales environment, fear can be a deal killer. And it sometimes is subconscious. It manifests itself in how you present. It manifests itself in how you speak, what you say, what you do, how you react to what your clients or prospects do. It can manifest itself a lot of ways. If you really want to achieve the level of success that you've always dreamed of, you got to deal with fear. You got to figure out how to master it. Now, I would recommend, if you only caught part of this, or if you had to drop off early and you missed this, catch the whole recording on this and listen to this again. Listen to the hack again about how to overcome fear, and ask yourself this question. Truly ask yourself this question: am I positioned in a way that fear doesn't hold me back from helping the people I need to help? It doesn't matter what your offering is. It doesn't matter what your product or service is. Is fear holding you back from helping more people? Because if the answer is yes, you need to deal with it. You need to figure out how to get past it, how to overcome it. The success mindset for sales, the ultimate best success mindset, and it doesn't matter whether you're dealing with fear or anything else, is a servant mentality towards having a positive impact on the businesses and the individuals that you work with and for. If you can do that consistently in your business, you will be wildly successful. You will absolutely crush all your goals. And more importantly, you'll impact a lot of people's lives along the way. This, time every week is important to be able to reflect and really put yourself in a place where you're focused on the right things for your success. And the impact sales live sessions that I'm going to be doing every Monday, except next week. Next Monday is July 4th. There's not going to be a session, but we will be back on July 11th. Are vital. Somebody asked me last week, why did you pick a Monday? Like, why did you pick a Monday to do this? And I'm going to tell you why. Monday is the most important day of the week to get your head right, get your focus on, and really focus on the things that are going to impact your success. Fear and mastering it is one of those things, just one of the pieces. But make sure that you tune in to Impact Sales Live. Each week we have it, coming back again on July 11th to catch actionable things that'll make your business grow. Check out our sponsor, Podcast Easy. If you're interested in podcasting and you want to take your business in a new way and have your story told, you want to do it yourself in your own way and you need help to do it, check out Podcast Easy. I put the link in our chat here. Make sure you catch it. Don't miss them. Make sure you tell them that the sales activist sent you. Without a doubt, no matter what you're offering, no matter what you're doing to provide value in the world, take a servant mentality to it. Help as many people as you can to get the value and the impact that they need in their life and their business, and you will achieve the success that you're looking for. Coming up in future episodes of Impact Sales Live, we're going to have some live guests on here with me, going through some scenarios, some really big wins and some successes about selling. So make sure you stay tuned in Impact Sales Live, catch the content, catch the recording, and make use of all the resources that we share. My name's Joe Beck, founder of The Sales Activist and host of the Impact Sales Podcast. If I can help you in any way, please reach out to me, schedule time on my calendar. I'm happy to help talk with you about fear or anything else going on inside your business as far as sales goes. Catch the Impact Sales Podcast on 38 different podcast channels, just about anywhere that you could be listening to your podcast, you're going to find the Impact Sales Podcast. Make sure you subscribe, catch some of those episodes, because I interview top sales thought leaders about what they do to stand out in professional selling. And we basically exchange ideas, tips, and best practices so you get even more actionable content to help you and your business. This is Joe Beck with Impact Sales Live, and I'll catch you next time.